Rev up your engines! All right, this man bought this Toyota Corolla 2015 used. It was at a Toyota dealer. It was certified pre-owned. They had all kinds of guarantees. He's had a lot of problems, so we're going to try something here. I'm trying out this company. It's called EpicVIN, and we're going to look it up and see what information they have. Number in there. Now we're going to check it. They didn't find any problems. Said that it had 65,000 miles when he bought it. There's an open recall. It's probably airbag. The open safety recall. They're recalling some of these Corollas for airbags. The airbag ECU unit may malfunction. They're having a problem with airbags with these stupid things, aren't they? The title's clean. There's no records found. There's 3 records for the owners. He just got it June 1st, 2021. It was also registered in New Hampshire before that. And before that, it was in Massachusetts. Obviously, when it was brand new because it's got 6 miles on it. It shows it wasn't stolen. No problems reported. It is a Corolla. Doesn't have a rebuilt title, no vandalism, no salt water damage, and it shows the sales history. Originally it sold for $19,615. Shows all the equipment, everything that it has on it. Then it sold for $14,344 in 2018 in Nashua, New Hampshire. And then April 22nd, it was on sale for $13,900. And he bought it for $12,300. Now, you can see this EpicVIN works pretty good. It gives you all kinds of information. What state, it's not going to give you the guy's name, it shows you what state it was registered in, how many owners it had, if it had been in any kind of wrecks. It shows that it has the one open recall for the airbag system. You can take it and get fixed free. You get an awful lot of information. This gives you tons more information. Carfax, I've had so many problems with Carfaxes. They have a thing on it that says, due to COVID-19, we're short staffed here and it might take a while for us to get the information, la 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 la. Okay, that's one thing. But I've done some research on the company, and what I found is this. During normal business hours, it works pretty good. A lot of times, when it's after business hours, they don't get back to you till the next day, because I tried one, it didn't come back till the next day. So let's say you're looking at a car at night, and this past business hours, you may not be able to get the information, and that's kind of a downfall to a system like this. Now, the source of their information is, and it's a mouthful, National Motor Vehicle Title Information System, NMVTIS. It does have a very large database. There's a lot of information you get out of the system. One report is $8.99. They have various packages, but hey, not a bad deal. You spend a lot of money on a used car. You can get a lot of information fast if it's normal working hours. You're going to have to check the cars out during normal business hours. This is the big advantage. Let's say you can't see the car till later in the day. Just tell the people, I need your VIN number to do a check. They'll give you the VIN number and you can check it before you get there, which is a real big advantage because you might see it's a junker, the VIN number, you put it in, you see it's a junker, you don't waste your time driving across town, going someplace for a piece of crap. So, I gotta say, it's called EpicVIN. They're not paying me anything, I'm just trying it out, and I gotta say, so far, it's a lot better than Carfax. It gives you an awful lot of information on the car. I checked one out the other day, it even showed that the car had been wrecked and it had pictures of the big front end smash. At least we know this guy did not get a junker. It has had previous owners. They were all on the East Coast. There's 160 points that they say they check and they guarantee. They told them it was free of dents, but it had a dent from here to here. And they said, oh, well, that doesn't count. They said that they sent pictures for this process to the Toyota Pre-Owned Certification Board, whatever they got there, and they said that it was okay. That didn't count, right? But he had to argue and argue and argue and argue. They did fix the dent, but he had to make a big stink about it. That's the problem with all these warranties, you know? You got to practically strangle the people to get them to do anything. Now, he ended up getting a whole rat's nest because it was making noise. So then he went to a different Toyota dealer, not the one he bought it from. Of course, it had this warranty. Well, they decided they're going to sell him stuff. They replaced the lower control arms and the axles, but it was still making a noise. So then they put a remanufactured automatic transmission because it was still vibrating. He says it still vibrates at 65, and he's got the paperwork to say that he's got a remanufactured transmission in it. And that was done August 11th, a couple months ago. Let's take a look at it. We'll look inside, and lo and behold, they're not lying. There's a transmission. You can see it's got to be a rebuild unit because you can see it's spray painted silver. They often spray paint it when they rebuild them. Let's say they didn't do anything to the transmission at all, which I personally have seen many times. Well, then the engine parts, they all got corrosion on them because this car's in Massachusetts. It gets corroded. They're trying as clean as can be. So it has been replaced. Now, to me, it doesn't make any sense because Toyota Corollas generally last for ever. Why this transmission went bad. Now, he said it's still shaking, so obviously that didn't fix the problem. They make some money replacing the transmission. It's a warranty, but they got to get some money for it. This isn't a recall where they make no money at all. They're still getting paid for some of the work. There is money involved in whatever kind of warranty system that they have. Now, the owner told me how the whole process worked, other than it was like pulling teeth to get things out. Toyota dealerships have to get approval from Toyota to do certain work, because obviously they're getting reimbursed from Toyota. In this case, it kind of makes me scratch in my head, because I have never ever seen one of these transmissions go out at such a low mileage, 60-something thousand miles. I have never seen one go out. And he's still got the vibration. Maybe they just thought, well, it's got to be the transmission. What the heck, they're going to pay us to put it in, so they put it in. It did not solve the problem, though. So as far as I'm concerned, the Toyota dealers, and they went to two different ones, were just guessing. First they guessed the control arms, then they guessed the axles, then they guessed the transmission. So let's do the old finger trick. Here's the left front. We're going to stick our fingers in, and you can see, if we put 3 fingers in here, we can go in, and there's a gap behind the tire. See that gap between my pinky and here? Let's check the other side. You can see when I'm using this hand, the same 3 fingers, it's tight. There is no gap here. Now that I have tested out this EpicVIN, in this case, it failed just as bad as Carfax did. He got a free Carfax report at the Toyota deal. It also said it had never been in a wreck. But you look at those close little technical jargon, and it'll say something like, to the best of the knowledge of the information we were able to acquire, this car was never in a wreck. It says no wreck on the big green page you're looking at, right? But read the legalese and you'll see that they're covering their own rear end, because there's absolutely no way that this car wasn't wrecked. I have never, ever in all my life seen a Toyota Corolla with this kind of mileage that had to have the transmission replaced, that had to have the drive shafts replaced, that had to have the lower control arms with this low mileage. This thing has obviously been in some type of wreck in the front end, because he's not getting steering wheel vibration, it's the whole vehicle's vibrating. And once these unibody cars with no actual frames get in a wreck, they're wrecked too far to ever be fixed perfectly. I mean, I do have to admit, the EpicVIN gave some really good information. Who owned it, what it cost, the mileage. That's all the public record that you can get. I'm 100% sure this car has been in a wreck, just by the differential from one side to the other, or the gap between the back and the front tires. That's quite obvious. Now, I'm gonna jack it up, but I just noticed something else. I thought I might as well go whole hog. So, look at the back of the car. Here's the left rear wheel. You stick your finger in here and it's tight, right? It's tight. There's no play back and forth. But when we go around to the other side, check it out. Look at the play. Look. It goes this whole way back and forth. Toyota makes quality cars. They don't make crooked cars. This thing, things have been bent. The tire to the wheel well distance. This thing has been bent. And that's why it's shaking. I mean, they give them a lot of free stuff. A remanufactured tranny, CV axles, lower control arms. That stuff doesn't wear out on a Toyota this fast. It kind of shows, too, that the guys at the dealership, they're kind of grasping at straws. They just guess like everybody else nowadays. They just, oh, change that. Okay, that changed this. And then it didn't fix it. Okay, now we're going to put a transmission in, which is a giant deal. Now, maybe the transmission did have a problem from it being in a wreck. That very well could be the case. Both Carfax and this EpicVIN said it had never been in a wreck. So let's crawl under and take a look. Now, you can see there's the rebuilt transmission. There's no lie about that. They did replace the control arms. It did the work they said they did. And the CV shafts, they're all brand new. But I can also see, looking under here, the car's completely symmetrical. It's supposed to be, right? You can see right here, that's bent lower, and that side's bent higher. It's been bent. And here's absolute positive proof the car's been wrecked. This is not normally painted, it's all overspray. There's overspray on a tow hook. The only reason that looks like it does, and so does the one on the other side, is because it's been wrecked and painted, and they never do a perfect job masking it. So there's fresh paint here from the wreck, and this is the original paint here. When Toyota builds cars, they don't have overspray on them. This is overspray on it. This car's been wrecked, repainted. It's a bunch of nonsense that these companies say, it was never in a wreck. And it's just with the information they get. They might be gigantic databases, but if the car is privately fixed and not gone through an insurance company, there may be no record at all. A lot of guys pay cash when they get body work done, and there's no proof that the car was ever wrecked. They deliberately do it because they know if they're going to sell the car, they won't get much money for it after it was wrecked and it was proved it was wrecked. So they just pay a guy cash to fix it, and then nobody's the wiser. And when I get under, I can even see, look over there. You see shiny new paint and bonding stuff on the side, but the bottom of it is coated. They don't make them that way. Think Toyota builds cars sloppy like this? No, they don't. Now we're looking at the undercarriage here. On the right side, we can see stuff is bent here. That shouldn't be bent. But then we go to the other side, and that part, you see, is not bent. Now, do you really think Toyota builds cars that are bent on one side and not on the other? No, the car obviously has been wrecked. That's why it's shaking on him when he's going 63 miles an hour. And like I said, it's not the steering wheel shaking, it's the whole car. That's the thing about unibody cars. And it also makes sense of why there were previous owners of this car. Even though it looks good, it's a Toyota with 60-something thousand miles. Why on earth see the third guy to own this thing? I just figured one of the previous owners wrecked it, and they got it fixed and didn't want any records, but I don't want anybody to know because they're not going to give any money for it because it'll have a reconditioned title or whatever, and then they just kept selling it on. We're going to take it for a ride just to see how it works, whether it's still a decent car, aside from that little bit of shaking. It very well could be. Now just driving it down the road at low speed, you're going 40, it feels fine. Now we're going to take it on the highway. And I can feel it's somewhat unstable, and I can feel the car swaying back and forth a little. A tracking problem. Now, it's not outrageous. I mean, you could live with it, but he paid a lot of money for this car with the warranty, but even now, I can feel it losing its control. It's not tracking correctly. And of course, it's been aligned various times. Once the frame gets bent, these aren't solid frames, they're unibody frames. Nobody can ever really fix them right. That's why they total cars when they're in big wrecks. They're almost impossible to get the track correctly because everything's thin metal. When it's bent like an old frame, they can straighten the frame and a frame straightening machine, bolt it back on. No, it's all part of the body. As far as I'm concerned, even though EpicVIN gives you a lot more information than Carfax, in this case, it was an epic fail. The car's obviously been in wrecks, and it said the car was never wrecked. That's why you can't trust these information systems. There's only a certain amount of information that they have. And if you read the Carfax ones, like I've said many times, they got little disclaimers and say, when you go through the whole thing and read the fine print, it says stuff like, to the best of our knowledge, from the information we were able to procure, this car has not been in a wreck. They're not saying it absolutely hasn't been in a wreck. And it's obvious that this one has been in a wreck. Paint overspray on the tow hooks, bent parts that shouldn't be bent, tires from one side to the other that have different gaps, meaning the subframe has been bent. I see a lot of this lately because there's so many big companies out there selling used cars for a lot of money. This particular one happened to be at a Toyota dealership, but I've seen it from Carvana, any big lot, CarMax. They have so many cars, and with the market today being so low on both new and used cars, they get them, they sell them, they're gone. They don't know the true history of the car. Half the time, they only rely on a Carfax report or this EpicVIN. It wasn't any better. Where it really counts, whether the car's been in a wreck or not, isn't a horrible car, but it sways at 63. It has vibrations. It does not track down the road correctly. Front end's been aligned. Even they put the tires in the front and the back, they thought maybe there's a bent rim. Didn't make any difference. Unfortunately, this man made a big mistake. He was debating whether to take this car to a mechanic, like myself, an independent mechanic, to get it checked out. But he trusted this pre-owned car at Toyota, and they have put a lot of money into this thing. Granted, they put a transmission in. They did. It's not a lie. They put in drive shafts. They put in lower control arms. But like I said, a Toyota Corolla with 60,000 miles on it, I have never, ever, in my 53 years of working on cars, seen those wear out that fast or a transmission wear out that fast on a Toyota this new with that low mileage on it. It's quite obvious that this car has been in a wreck. You can't trust any of those, certified pre-owned, whatever. You gotta get an independent mechanic to look at a car if you're buying it used. I don't care where you're buying it from, because he's not selling you the car. He just wants to tell you if you're getting a good car or not. He's going to be much more honest than a guy that's selling you the car. A dealership says, yes, certified pre-owned. By who? By our guys. Yeah, well, who is your guy? Is it your top-notch mechanic? Of course not. The top-notch mechanics aren't going to be checking out cars. They're going to be making a lot of money replacing transmissions and stuff. And they often miss things. I, one time, went to a Toyota dealer years ago when I was a mobile mechanic to check out a Toyota for a customer. And it was certified pre-owned, right? So first thing I did, I checked the oil. It was 2 quarts low on oil. So I told them, customer's not gonna buy the car. And this was a certified pre-owned one at a Toyota dealership. They said, we didn't service the oil yet. Don't worry, we're gonna do that. I said, no, you don't understand. It's 2 quarts low. It means this car's burning oil. It wasn't leaking, it was dry. It was burning the oil. Previous owner didn't change the oil. Now the pistons are worn and it's burning oil. I said, my customer is not going to buy an oil burning car. Now, they would have fooled me if they would have changed the oil in the first place, and it would have been clean and I wouldn't have thought it's an oil burner, right? You have to have a mechanic check out a used car. It doesn't matter what anybody says. It has to be an independent guy who has nothing to do with the deal. And it's also a warning for all these information systems. Don't bet the farm on them. He had a Carfax that the dealer said it wasn't in a wreck. I checked it with EpicVIN, said it wasn't in a wreck, but it obviously wasn't a wreck. These are just people that collect information from other parties. They don't know the whole truth. Some states don't even allow the information to be passed on. There's certain laws in California, I know, that you're not allowed to pass information on. So even if there was a problem, they're not allowed to tell. You gotta have a mechanic check out a used car. End of story. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.